Hi, I'm Avery Davidson.
And I'm Kristen Oaks-White. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Well, agriculture continues to be one of the most dangerous industries in America. According to Purdue University, there were 42 grain bin entrapments across the U.S. in 2022. Just more than a third of those were fatal.
A recent grain bin entrapment here in Louisiana had a happier ending. As Karl Wiggers shows us, first responders were able to rescue the person trapped and credit Louisiana Farm Bureau for the life-saving tools and training.
While it is quiet on this Tuesday morning in Crowville, first responders were racing north on Highway 17 to answer a call 1 week ago.
When the pager went off at 1:30 in the morning, our dispatcher came over the radio and told us that we had a fully submerged victim.
Michael Green is the chief of the Ward 1 Rural Fire District in Delhi. His department was first on the scene of a grain bin entrapment, and he knew right away that he would need his neighbors' help.
The first thing that went through my mind was, who was I going to find grain bin rescue stuff from? So I got on the phone, and my first call was Johnny Ogden in Vermilion Parish. I found out Crowville Fire had access to some from the elevator in Crowville.
They had enough people there to get the job done. They just needed the tools, and that's where we came in. We brought the tools that were needed.
The grain bins and Wisner's got a set, so I actually had 2 sets on hand within probably 30 minutes.
Candace shares the chief duties for her husband, Dillon, at the Crowville Fire Department. Dillon was in the grain bin with Green during the rescue. Candace says seeing these men work together to save a life makes her proud.
As a wife, I'm extremely proud. As a firefighter for this department, I'm proud that our department has had a hand in helping with 2 rescues that should have been recoveries, but because of the tools that we have, they were rescues.
Spicer and Green have each attended workshops hosted by Louisiana Farm Bureau over the years, which highlight how to use these life-saving tools and how to respond to this very scenario. Spicer says that training has now been put into practice multiple times in Northeast Louisiana and led to lives saved.
The training and the tools made a difference in both instances.
Once we got the grain bin tube, I'm going to say within 15 minutes, we had the guy out of the tank rescued.
Within hours of the completed rescue, Green had these new tools on the way to his department.
I actually got online right then and started looking for us to set up for our department. I mean, I actually purchased it and we received it Monday.
Reporting from Northeast Louisiana, I'm Karl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
There are now more than 25 rescue tubes in Louisiana, and that number is climbing. To learn more about Louisiana Farm Bureau's efforts to prevent these accidents and equip first responders, head over to our website, twilatv.org.
Yards, fields, and pastures across most of the state tell the same story. It's been dry out there. There are currently burn bans in 25 Louisiana parishes, according to the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry. As you can see on this map, the majority of those parishes are in the western and northwestern parts of the state. And if you look at the latest U.S. Drought Monitor, you'll see a correlation between the 2 maps. The U.S. Drought Monitor shows only 8 Louisiana parishes in severe or D2 drought. You can influence what this map shows. Louisiana Farm Bureau is urging members to use the Condition Monitoring Observer Reports website to submit reports of conditions on your land so the U.S. Drought Monitor can better reflect conditions where you live. We have a link to make those reports on our website at twilatv.org.
LSU President Dr. William Tate got an up-close look at how Louisiana 4-H became shooting sport national champions. President Tate fired off a few .22 caliber rounds at the Bridgeview Gun Club in West Baton Rouge Parish. It was a pretty windy day, so most of these metal pig targets stayed standing. But it was great recognition for Louisiana 4-H, fresh off the 2024 National Shooting Sports Championship, where they finished first.
I'm proud of that because ag is a big part of LSU's history and 4-H is a big part of ag. And so for us, it's just another championship team, part of LSU. And hopefully a lot of these young people will come to LSU and they'll continue to be part of the sport as LSU students.
Tate also recognized Louisiana Farm Bureau President Richard Fontenot for the organization's contributions to 4-H. Fontenot's son, by the way, Lance, he's on this year's national championship team.
The big man on campus might change every year, but there's only one big tiger. Mike is certainly the biggest mascot in college football, and as TWILA's Neil Melancon shows us, it brings attention to not only athletics, but his support staff at the LSU Vet School.
There's something stalking the students in the tall grass at LSU in Baton Rouge. and they just can't get enough of it. Mike the Tiger is the only live tiger mascot in the U.S., and he's definitely the most popular and most pampered. This special enclosure was built for him, and he has dedicated students and faculty for his needs. He has a storied 90-year history here on campus and is named after Mike Chambers, the athletic director of 1934. The current Mike the Tiger is Mike 7, and he started his reign in 2017. Ginger Guttner is known as the voice of Mike on social media. She says while this Siberian Bengal mix is an apex predator in the wild, there's still some similarities to your kitties at home.
Ultimately, he's a big cat, right? So I'm often fascinated by his behavior, his mannerisms are very similar to a cat, right? Like we were over there earlier and I told you we can try to get him to come up to us, but he's not a dog, right? A dog will happily respond to voice commands. Cats do not.
And like all cats, Mike loves to eat. You might think that's just a matter of tossing him some meat, but Guttner says it's more complicated than that.
And it's beef byproducts, there's different minerals and things like that. It is meant to replicate nutritionally what a tiger would get in the wild. So for example, when a tiger takes down an herbivore, it gets its salad when it gets to the herbivore's intestines. And so this looks like and has the consistency of ground meat or hamburger meat, but nutritionally it's very different.
Caring and feeding Mike started a new tradition in recent years. Guttner says they started shaping his food in the shape of schools LSU football would be facing that week.
We refer to it as meat art. The meat art started as a joke. One of his caretakers shaped it in the Alabama A and sent that picture to me and me and a caretaker as like, haha, look what I did.
Now, if you want to see Mike the Tiger, Guttner says fall and winter when it's cooler is the best time to see him actively moving. However, she's also got an inside tip about what time of day is best.
He's more active during the morning. I mean, again, he's a cat, so they sleep a lot. He's more active when he first comes out. He'll be more active again late afternoon. So we recommend that people visit very early in the morning or like 4:30 to 5:30 because he gets up because he knows he's going to see his people. They're going to come over and, talk to him.
Now, I remember coming to campus as a kid and seeing Mike the Tiger, and the pride back then, as it is now, is evident here on campus. And with a whole vet school backing him, there'll be a Mike the Tiger for generations to come. Reporting from the LSU campus in Baton Rouge, I'm Neil Melancon.
There was talk recently of LSU getting a second tiger to make appearances at home games, but the vet school says there's no plans at this time to expand the pride. East Coast states are still rebuilding following Hurricane Helene. As more help is needed, some farmers are pausing their operations to help.
One dairy farm quickly realized they had the infrastructure to get fresh water sent to some of the hardest hit areas.
Stuart and I hadn't got connected since the flooding started, and I called him to check in and make sure he was all right. And I asked him, what can we do? And that's when he said, I have the capacity to bottle this water and get this done. And I said, well, I have the capacity to raise the money. 12 hours later, we were raising money.
I told Sophia, like, we can do this. We can put it in gallon jugs, which is what they were asking for. But it cost. And we're gonna start today with the jugs that we've got on hand. But if you can get us more jugs, we can keep doing it. And it just turned into a lot of water. We're bottling it here, we're putting it on our trucks, and we're going straight to the emergency areas with it.
We've raised an incredible amount of money to start getting the supplies we need to bottle the water.
It's been overwhelming, but it's been effective. At the very beginning, I was texting Stuart, I was like, hey, I'm up to 8,000, hey, I'm up to 10,000, hey, I'm up to 16,000. And then I couldn't keep fielding the money, so the money just starts coming in, and I've got it in an account that's just going straight to that account. And it's just going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching all day long. It is overwhelming.
Yeah, and all of our labels come from Foxhole Boutique in Forest City. And we reached out on Facebook, said who can make labels quick? And she said, I can have you 3,000 by lunchtime. And I mean, they were donated.
I mean, it's the power of Facebook is unbelievable.
It's scary,
right now.
but it's unbelievable.
We're pulling 15, 16-hour days, if not longer.
We've got a community of support that I've probably not seen before. Knew it was there, but never saw it. Between the crew that works for Bean Farms and Big Bottom Milk Company, that's just like not questioning anything. Come here, do this, let's knock it out. the community people that show up. There's people in there that don't know their names, meeting the night for the first time, and they stay till we're done. We had to shut the plant down last night to get people to go home, and that's what it is.
It's hard to even put it into words because we're here we're operating on a capacity where we know the devastation, we know how bad it is, and we both have resources, we know we have assets, but the biggest thing that we have, Farm Bureau members need to remember more than anything in the world is that these people that we meet at these meetings, these people that you see at one time at annual convention, and they wrote down in a note that they are a hay grower or whatever it might be, remember that person. Write it down, save that contact, because you don't know when you're gonna be in need. If it wasn't for every person that Stuart and I knew and had in our phone book, none of this would be happening. None of it.
Yep, and it's also inspiring to think that we didn't know this was possible until it happened, but this is possible in every rural town in North Carolina when the need arises. If this happens 3 counties over, it can happen. It can be done again, and people will do it for us.
Absolutely.
Our thanks to the North Carolina Farm Bureau for sharing that story. If you want to help relief efforts in North Carolina or all of the other impacted states, we have a link posted right now on our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, Italian immigrants looking for a better life helped shape Louisiana agriculture. Part 2 of our special series is coming up.
And later we welcome Kansas Farm Bureau visitors in a very uniquely Louisiana way. Stay with us. Last week we showed you how Louisiana's Sicilian Italian-American immigrants escaped the unforgiving fields of their homeland to fulfill the American dream right here in Louisiana.
This week Suzanne Ferrara shows us the present-day farm life of their descendants who are remembering from whence they came.
And this is where we're going to plant the shallots and everything back here.
Okay. A lot of people break it off, snap it, but I like to cut.
Mm-hmm.
How's it taste?
Real good.
They are among the last surviving commercial farmers, spawned from Italian and Sicilian immigrants who collectively played a fundamental role in Louisiana's agricultural and economic history.
That was my great-grandparents that came from Utica.
And so who came over?
My great-great-grandfather in 1865.
Well, when they came here, they settled right here. That was my grandpa Jake and my grandmother Lena, my great-grandparents.
Quite ready, but I'm gonna cut this.
At their agricultural pinnacle, there were hundreds of Italian Sicilian farmers thriving throughout Louisiana, the product of tens of thousands of immigrants who landed in Louisiana primarily between the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
They had the Renazzas, they had the Grecos, they had the Parmesanos, they had the Mistrats, they had the Reeses, they had a whole bunch of them. They had about, like I said, around 35 farmers just in St. Bernard.
And they supplied everyone with their quality produce that was in high demand.
Cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, mustard, turnips, beets, carrots. They grew everything. Tomatoes, bell peppers, corn, hay. They had mule and wagon. That's the only way they can get to New Orleans to the French market. All the old farmers around might have had 4 or 5 in this pile, 4 and 5 in that pile. I don't know nothing about that, but they were talking all Italian.
My grandfather would go to the French market, and he would sell his product, his produce, and then my grandmother would be at home washing the greens and packing the cabbage and doing all that work, and he'd get a little sleep and go back the next night. That wasn't easy to do that.
And they are the living testaments of the principles instilled in them.
It had to be done right. Otherwise, you'd keep doing it over and over and over again if it's not done right. One core principle, very simple. Treat everyone the way that you want to be treated. Tell the truth when somebody asks you something. Be truthful about it.
Not only did they work alongside their immigrating grandfathers, but some worked and remembered their great-grandfathers as well.
When he was in the field, he used his hands, takes his hoe. Then, years ago, we had wood sticks, and he had to take a hammer and hit each one about 4 times so they went deep enough in the ground.
It was just something you never forget.
As children, they absorbed all that their blood lovingly passed down, as their patriarchal ancestors paved the way for their future success with utter determination, and gave their seemingly small wings the power to fly.
What sticks in my mind today, his name was Frank. He was 6 foot tall. We were packing tomatoes. And my first job was to nail 2 wooden slats on top of the box. Every once in a while I'd hit my finger and I said, I'm quitting. And he would tell me, boy, you can't quit this job. You can hit your finger a dozen times. You still can't quit. I said, well, I can't quit because you own part of this. I remember this like it was yesterday.
He was a serious person. You had to do things right. You didn't do nothing wrong. You did it right.
And they were even more closely connected, virtually inseparable, with their fathers, as young as
4 years old, 5 years old. I just fell off. He came and picked me up, put me on the sled, back again.
Was he teaching you then?
Oh, yeah, he was teaching me what to do.
You were watching it, huh?
Oh, I watched my father, everything he did on the farm.
Theirs was a bond so profound that even though their forefathers are no longer physically here, they still call on them for advice or just to talk.
I get out there halfway in the field. I said, Pop, help me get to the other end. Before you know it, I'm at the other end.
The success of their farming businesses are perhaps evidence that this genetic skill set powered from the mother country emphatically lives inside their core.
And out of 10,000 seeds, we might lose 2 or 3 seeds. So you have to know what you're doing to plant 10,000 seeds and lose 2.
They hold agricultural secrets like a guarded Sicilian-Italian recipe, formulated from their distinctive know-how, or their intelligentsia, as they call it.
And what's that secret that you and your dad came up with
Can't tell you.
What was it for?
It was to make the plant grow and have a good taste.
These agricultural combinations are like magic formulas, methods ripened on Louisiana soil, perpetuating their immigrating forefathers' fortuna in America.
I own to the 40 Orphan, which is from the center of the highway to the 40 Orphan, is 3.5 miles deep. I own that.
Like the progression of their ancestral forefathers who worked, rented, and then owned land, these progenies' farming businesses continue to evolve.
I could see the future in vegetables going downhill. I got in the tree business in 1970, and we've been growing every year after that.
Everything I owned here, everything I bought around here, I slaved for it.
We own about 500 acres of farmland. At one time, we leased a good bit of land. It was up to 750 acres. As of now, we still have enough facilities to do the job for that amount of acreage. It all come by just extremely hard work.
21st century agricultural ingenuity is on their side.
The work is easy. You could pan over there and see those tractors running, the diesel fuel burning, and tractors getting the work done. But back then, it was mules and plows, and handwork.
What would great-grandfather Salvatore Renazza say to you today if he looked around?
If he looked around, he would be astonished. He could not envision what is taking place.
What would they say?
Sit back in and enjoy it and laugh He says, I didn't think you can do it, but you did it. Because I had good teachers.
If they looking down on this, and I think they would be just amazed of the accomplishments and the way everything changed from the way they worked and the way we work. And I just think they would be very proud of their name.
Next week, we'll show you the challenges they face in order to maintain that American dream.
Now, Suzanne, what touched you about this?
Johnny Gallo talking about honesty and integrity when they'd go down to the French market and people just bought that produce sight unseen, wouldn't even open the box. Those suppliers were none other than my grandfather, who Paulo Ferreira, and that's why he had so much pride. Now I understand that even more so.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We look forward to the next part.
Thank y'all so much.
Still to come on TWILA, seeing how the other side lives. These members of the Kansas Farm Bureau tour Louisiana.
According to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, there are around 55 licensed alligator farms in the state.
TWILA's Keely Ana Dillon takes us to Abbeville, where visitors from Kansas Farm Bureau learned how those operations run.
When we say Farm Bureau family, we don't just mean the one in Louisiana. Last week, Kansas Farm Bureau members traveled down south to check out Louisiana's agriculture. One of the stops on their tour was an alligator farm in Vermilion Parish. Matthew Segura is a third-generation alligator farmer and now manages his family's unique operation. He says every day is different than the one before, and he couldn't imagine doing anything else.
It's funny, I find almost, Farm Bureau people from around the country and around the state actually seem to almost get more impressed by it than just regular people. Most people, a lot of people really aren't as impressed, but then you find people who are farmers themselves, but they have rice or they have corn or something up north, something different, or cattle, and they tell them, oh, I'm an alligator farmer. Then more times than not, the questions just start coming and they're just completely amazed. So it's always fun for me. I kind of, it almost never gets old talking about what I do.
Harvesting season is in August, so as you can see, the incubators are empty. They're in the middle of the grading process now, which means Segura and his team are closely inspecting the skins.
I'll measure it across the belly by centimeters to determine the width, and then I'll assign it a grade based on quality. So really we're trying to kill as many number ones as possible, because that's perfect or almost perfect, and that's full price. Number 2 is like slightly blemished, so that'll be like a 30% discount. And then, number 3, really bad, it's like 50% discount, but we try not to harvest any of those if we can.
Once they're inspected by Wildlife and Fisheries, the gators are ready to be packed and shipped. Segura says that Louis Vuitton is one of their biggest customers, and most of their skins, like the ones in this crate, are sent overseas to Singapore or Italy. However, 5% of what hatches gets released back into the marsh.
So what we try to do is we look for the ones that they might have blemishes on their belly or something that wouldn't be good for a leather product, but they're still a healthy alligator, so we can release them back to the wild. They'll survive, because that's still kind of the when the alligator farming industry started, it was done for conservation.
Reporting from Abbeville for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Keely Ana Dillon.
That does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll look at the struggles of a Northeast Louisiana family farm as they desperately wait for the passage of a farm bill. For all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.